3 years ago, I did not live in a house like this. I had 9 to 5, and I was pretty discontent with my life, the way things were going, the fact that years would pass and I would be stuck in the same place, and I had no freedom, no ability to do the things I wanted to do. I used these principles, this protocol, to completely change my life, and I went from a 9 to 5 to living in Thailand in a villa, living my dream life within a year. I want to show you how quick it is to seriously change your life. Now, changing your life actually doesn't take a year. It happens right now. That's how quickly you can change your life. And that's because everything we change in our reality has to first happen in our mind. We have to first think in a new way, become a new person, believe that it's possible. Now, the reason most people never change is because of comfort. Comfort is what keeps you stuck in a life that you don't particularly like, but it's not bad enough to really make change. So when I was in my 9 to 5, I used to medicate. And by medicate, I mean drink alcohol, smoke weed, take drugs, party. That's medication. It can be porn, scrolling on TikTok. It can be video games. Something that takes you away from your current reality and into a fake reality or a false feeling in your mind is comfort. So when I changed, the real first change I made that helped me unlock a new life was to go sober, because it made the pain of my reality so much that I had to make change and go after the thing that I actually wanted. And I started having to take a real look at my situation. I didn't like it. It didn't feel good. I was uncomfortable. And being uncomfortable is what takes you to the decision. When the pain in your life is too much to bear, you have to make a decision to change. Now, the problem in most people's lives is they use comfort to stop themselves from ever having to make that decision. And that's what you need to cut out. You need to have a raw look at your current reality, and you need to feel it. You need to feel the pain of not having enough money, the pain of not having freedom, the pain of the 9 to 5. You cannot medicate it. You cannot run from it. You cannot hide from it. You have to feel it completely. When you feel it completely, then you make your decision. Your decision is made like that, to change your life. I made the decision that I was going to save my money and I was going to move to a hot country because I hated English weather, and I was going to build a personal brand. And that's how I built all of this. A 7-figure business all came from my passion for filmmaking, my passion for video creation, being discontent with my reality, making it painful enough to make a change, and then quickly making that decision. Now, once you made the decision that you're going to be a better person or have a better life, you need a vision. You need something to inspire you. You need something to motivate you and get you out of bed in the morning. You need to know where you're going. The reason you need to know this, I learned this from a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. The mind has a reticular activating system. It is drawn and guided towards the things that help it achieve its goals. Now, most people, if they have no solid goal, no solid desire for something they want, they're all over the place. Their mind takes in any information. It takes anything in at all. But if they know exactly what they want, the mind will start to pick the path. So the next stage of completely changing your life is to write the vision for your future, to write your dream day, the life that you would enjoy to live, a life that you could live every single day and continue to be excited to get out of bed for. Once you've written that vision, what I did is I would write that vision down in full. And every single morning I would wake up and I would copy the page from the day before and I would write it again. Word for word, I would write that page every morning, an A4 piece of paper, my dream of going to Thailand, becoming a content creator, living in a 3-bed villa, having a beautiful Thai girlfriend, all of that stuff I would write down every day. Then I would sit and I would visualize that life as if I was living it, what the bed sheets were like, what were the smells in the air, how did I feel living that lifestyle? And I would envision myself in that life. And each day it became clearer and clearer how I would pick my path to get to that destiny. And that's what you need to do. So you need to spend some time to figure out what you want, where you're going in life and what you'd be satisfied with, and figure out a lifestyle that you want to live. Not an amount of money, not a job, not what you think other people would want, but what lifestyle would you be happy with every day? What feeds into your passions? After that's done, you reverse engineer it. You take that big vision, that vision for a year's time of who you're going to be and what your life is going to look like, and just reverse engineer it. Break it down. How much money do you need to make? Okay, how much would we need to make each month? How much would we need to make each week? How much would we need to make each day? And then how am I going to make that money? What are my options? What are my next steps? My next 5 steps for building this reality? Maybe you want to be in shape in a year's time. Well, that's going to take going to the gym. So today's goal if you break it down into today, what you can do right now, the things you can take action on, then today's goal is to go to the gym. Today's goal is to research different online business methods that you could use to free yourself, like I did, and I found personal brand, which was entwined with something I was actually passionate with and allowed me to live my dream life. You need to find out what those things are. You need to build a step-by-step plan for each month, a step-by-step plan for this month, break it down by week, break it down by day, and begin. Take action on that life. Take action on becoming that person. You've built a dream. You've made a vision. You've made the decision to get rid of the comfort in your life and go after what you truly want. And now you're going to take action on that plan. Now, taking action on that plan can be easier said than done. There's going to be a few things going on. You're going to have some limiting beliefs, perhaps, about whether you can actually achieve this thing. You're going to have distractions. You're going to have your day-to-day life. And what I've found is our experiences are really decided by our biochemistry, by the hormones and the chemicals that are released in our brain. The chemical that's most important for getting things done, for making change, feeling motivated and feeling certain in your life is dopamine. If you have no dopamine, you can't do anything. If you're at a very low dopamine level, it's very hard to have any clarity in your life or do anything you want to do. If you have super high dopamine, it's incredibly easy to cut through the noise. Now, the problem is, most people are distracted by these. They watch short-form content all day. They have comfort around them. They're comforted by the dopamine release from this phone, the dopamine release from alcohol, the dopamine release from chocolates, from watching a movie, from porn, from Netflix, from seeing their girlfriend. Our brains are getting overrun with dopamine from cheap fixes, making it very difficult for us to do anything hard. In order for you to build the life of your dreams, you need high dopamine. How do you get high dopamine? You stop releasing it for free. You have to cut everything out of your life that is releasing dopamine for free. If you're eating a bad diet, you cut it down to the essentials, your meat, your red meat, your eggs, your fruits, your veg. You cut it down to the bare essentials. You go on a low information diet. You take away the news. You stop taking in information that's not helping build your current reality. You take that out of your life. You take away anything that's increasing your dopamine levels. And then you do what I call a dopamine detox, to set your baseline levels of dopamine back to a level where even doing the mundane tasks, doing work, going to the gym feels interesting. We have to first remove everything that's giving us cheap dopamine. So for the next week, I want you to give yourself a dopamine detox. I want you to spend no more than 30 minutes per day on your phone. I don't want you to listen to any music. I don't want you to watch porn. I don't want you to masturbate. I don't want you to drink alcohol. I don't want you to eat any junk food, any sugary junk foods. For the next 7 days. That's all you need to do. 7 days. And on those 7 days, start working on your dream. Even if it's difficult, even if you're distracted. Cut everything else out. Because what we're going to train your brain to do is find work fun. To find health fun. To find going to the gym fun by your dopamine increase. The things you should get dopamine from are sitting outside in the sun, going to the gym, working on your business, creating content, reading books. These are the things your mind should enjoy. But if your dopamine circuits are fried from video games, from porn, that's impossible. Anytime, and I'll give you this as an example. I've played video games fairly recently. I have a PlayStation. And I played video games after already building my life up and getting to a point that most people don't, having a 7-figure business. And I played video games again, the new Call of Duty. The day after I played 3 or 4 hours of Call of Duty with my cameraman Max, I couldn't do any fucking work. I sat down and I was like, this is so boring compared to blasting zombies' heads off. And now I'm not even allowed a PlayStation. Even at this point, even at this level, at any point your dopamine can get hacked. And for most people, that is the biggest problem in their lives. Things that should give them pleasure don't give them pleasure. The good things in life don't give them pleasure because they're waved with dopamine from various other cheap sources. And that's what's holding you back. Now, on this journey to changing your life inside of a year, there's going to be 2 aspects. There's going to be your mind, your decisions, how you think and feel about things, and your vision for your life, which we've just gone through, and hacking your biochemistry so it makes it easier to work. And then you're going to need some new information. You're going to need new knowledge in your life. And the beautiful thing about the world we live in is knowledge is everywhere. Anything you want to learn, anyone you want to become, you can become. You just have to seek the knowledge, and you have to start learning. One of the biggest keys to my success is being a reader. Reading absolutely everything and anything I'm interested in, and reading pretty much non-stop since I was about 14 years old. And I've got 3 books for you here that are not your typical self-improvement books that everyone recommends. Not to say they're bad. There's some very good things in them, and that's why people recommend them. But I got 3 that are a little bit more outside the box, that will help inspire you on this mission to change yourself inside of a year. So first we got Endurance. And this is actually a story. This isn't a self-improvement book. This isn't a business book. This is a story. One of the greatest stories I've personally ever read. It's a true story about Ernest Shackleton. He took an Arctic expedition to cross the Antarctic continent in about 1930, but don't quote me on that. Now, their ship got stuck, and these guys got stranded in the Antarctic for 2 years. Ernest Shackleton was the man responsible for getting them home alive, and this story is their journey and a deep dive and insight into a true leader, into an inspirational leader of men, and how he thinks and navigates issues inside of his life. An inspiring book, completely gripping, and a fantastic book for any man to read if he dreams of becoming a leader, inspiring other people's. The next book on my list, Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday. And this book is fantastic if you are overwhelmed, if you feel like life is too much, like there's far too much to do and not enough time, and you want to have an insight into how the greats manage greatness, how stillness is the key, how sometimes doing less, removing things from our life and finding clarity helps us far more than trying to do everything. This book came to me at a pivotal time in my life when I was building my business and getting overwhelmed, and I've been back to it time and time again. And it's an ancient strategy for modern life. The next book is one I came onto quite recently. I recently learnt about Rick Rubin, probably about 3 or 4 months ago. Rick Rubin's one of the biggest music producers, you could call him, in the industry. He's created some of the most incredible albums you've probably ever heard. He's probably been on a lot of the music that you love from your favorite artists. And he's worth about $300 or $400 million. He is a creative. His main job is helping an artist discover themselves and creating their best art. And the creative act, a way of being, Rick Rubin's book, is all about creation, which is very relevant to me, having built a personal brand. And that was how I changed my life, and making content like this that inspires others. So you don't have to read those books, but there are 3 you might not have heard about that I think are very good and will give you that inspiration to start changing your life. Just know that anything you want to learn, you can learn. It's all out there. Stop taking knowledge from the news. Anything that's not in my current reality, I pay no attention to. The news is fear-mongering. It's designed to fill you with fear because fear sells. So you do not want to be putting that in your brain every day. You want to carefully curate your environment, the people you're around, whether they're bettering their life or worsening their life. If they're not aligned with your new mission, you need to find new people. The information you put in your brain, that needs to be aligned with the person you're going to become. You need to be surrounding yourself and finding out the information that successful people before you have used, the knowledge that's held in these books. A lifetime of wisdom from one person can be written in a book, and you can download that lifetime of wisdom into your brain for $10, $15, and you can do it over and over again. And you can have the wisdom of 1,000 men, of 1,000 women, the greatest people that have ever lived on this planet. You can have their knowledge and insights in your mind. Most people do not understand how powerful that is. Every single time you go to scroll on TikTok and you get lost for 2 hours, you could have been reading a book on your phone and have the knowledge to become successful. Now, to finish off this video, I want to give you the number 1 thing that completely changed my life, and that was building a personal brand. It gave me autonomy and freedom, the ability to live a dream life, the life that I desired to live. And it's something I'm incredibly passionate about. When you build a personal brand, you become future-proof. Because AI is going to take over. AI and robots are going to take over menial tasks, admin jobs, waiting tables. There'll be robots at McDonald's before you know it. So any of those jobs, any chance of a kind of middle income, middle of the road life is very close to being wiped out. Now, what AI cannot currently replace is human interaction. If somebody buys something from you because they like you, because they like your story, because they like the journey you've been on, because they're inspired by you, that's super powerful. They'll buy your thing from you, not because there isn't other things out there, not maybe even because yours is the best. Maybe yours is far more expensive than a cheaper option, but they buy it because of human connection. Personal brand opens doors, allows you to network with better people, allows you to turn your passions into profit. It allows you to take something that you've learned, a system that you've built, documenting your life, and turn it into a system to help other people. So no matter what your passion is, you can build in this age of algorithms, free attention online. You can gather attention by showing your passion, documenting your change and your journey, and you can turn that into a profitable business. If you were to work a 9 to 5 for $50,000 a year, it'd take you 30 years to make $1 million. 30 years of your life, and you'd have very little left because you'd have to spend it on the way. Now, if you built a personal brand and you sold a product you were passionate about for $500, you'd have to sell it 2,000 times. That's it. You'd have to sell a $500 2,000 times for $1 million. That's all you need to do. You don't need to have millions of subscribers. You just need 100. 100 true fans. 100 people that are willing to pay you $1,000 a year to learn something from you or to be closer to you inside of a community. I know people that spend $100 a month on subscriptions they don't even use, let alone somebody that's changing their life. All you need is 100 people to spend $1,000 with you a year and you've made $100,000, way above the average income. And at the same time, you've got the ability to live the life that you want to live, to go anywhere in the world, to travel. That is the power of personal brand. And for those of you that want to take it further, if personal brand feels like a calling to you and you want to make it in 2025, I've put everything I've learned over the last 3 years of building my personal brand from a 9-to-5 job to building a 7-figure business. Everything I know from building a YouTube channel from 0 to 100,000 subscribers in a year, from getting 100,000 followers on Instagram, I've put into a program called the Icon Blueprint. Now, this is just launched. I've been working on it for months, and it's going to be my coaching program, course, and community for creators to connect, to build their first personal brand, build their first offer, get over the fear of posting. And we have got 100 spaces available down below. The first 100 is our first cohort of coaching. The first 100 guys we're taking through will get a special price, which you will see on the website down below. If you're interested in building a personal brand, you're more than welcome to come and join us. I would love to make your dreams a reality, build your hero's journey, show you how to document your life and unlock a life of true freedom. So guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Maybe I'll see you inside the Icon Blueprint, and I will see you on the next one.